So hello, everyone. Today, we are going to be talking about the indefinite pronouns. And I'm going to start out by telling you something very important. God can do anything. Nothing is impossible for him. He created everything and everyone, and he is everywhere. Hallelujah. I want to remind us of this because sometimes we feel as though our problems are very big, but we need to remember that our God is much bigger than our problems. And I also wanted to introduce us with this so that we can see some examples of indefinite pronouns. So indefinite pronouns are words like you see here: anything, nothing, everything, everyone, and everywhere. These are called indefinite pronouns. And these are very common in the English language. We use them all the time, but we often don't know how to explain them when our students ask questions about it. And so today in this webinar, I'm going to share a little information about indefinite pronouns so that you feel more comfortable teaching them. And I'll give you some ideas for how you can teach these in your classroom. So you probably already know the term pronouns. So a pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun. So for example, instead of saying a man, I can use the pronoun he. Or instead of saying the pencil, I can use a pronoun it. So those are definite pronouns when we're talking about something specific. But indefinite pronouns are when the thing we are talking about is indefinite. It's not specific. And that makes it a little bit harder to explain. So these words, like something, everywhere, nobody, no one, are indefinite pronouns. And there's others as well, but we're going to be looking at 15 basic ones today. They can be a little bit confusing because they always take a singular verb, even though they may seem like they're plural. And when you refer back to them, you use a plural pronoun, even though they might seem singular. So they're a little bit different than some other words in English. I'm going to show you some more Bible verses using indefinite pronouns. And I find that using Bible verses is a great way to give examples. Sometimes we rack our brains coming up with example sentences for our students when they ask a question about a word. And I'm going to show you a really quick trick that you can use if you need sample sentences. I usually go to BibleGateway.com, and then I will type in the word that I'm looking for, or a phrase I'm looking for, in the easy to read version of the Bible. So you can select different languages and different versions of English. We often use the easy to read version for our English learning students. And then when I hit the search button, you can see there's 495 Bible results for the word anyone. So it's a very popular word. And if we go down here over on the right, it shows you each book of the Bible and how many times it appears. So I often like to take examples from the Gospels. So I'm going to go here to John, and we can see the word anyone appears 32 times in the Gospel of John in this version. And we can see how Jesus has used this word. So, but anyone who drinks the water I give will never be thirsty again. The water I give people will be like a spring flowing inside them. It will bring them eternal life. And that's an example of the word anyone. So this can refer to any person. Some other examples of indefinite pronouns from Genesis 2:5. This was before there were plants on earth. Nothing was growing in the fields because the Lord God had not yet made it rain on the earth, and there was no one to care for the plants. From Matthew 13, God's kingdom is like a treasure hidden in a field. One day, a man found the treasure. He hid it again and was so happy that he went and sold everything he owned and bought that field. Matthew 5, give to anyone who asks you for something. Don't refuse to give to anyone who wants to borrow from you. So this is giving us this sense by looking at these passages of what these words mean. Jesus doesn't say, give to your good friends who are going to pay you back when they ask you for something. He says, give to anyone who asks you for something. Don't refuse to give to anyone who wants to borrow from you. He said to them, go everywhere in the world. Tell the good news to everyone. So that's what we aim to do. So these are some examples of indefinite pronouns in usage, but I'm going to show you a little chart here that breaks them up and makes them perhaps a little easier to understand. So we can see on this chart that we have these 4 prefixes on the left. So the some, any, no, and every. Those are the 4 main prefixes that go in front of the words. And then if we're talking about people, we can either use one or body. Both of those are used to refer to people, and they are synonyms. They mean the same thing. Someone or somebody is the same thing. One is a little bit more common in writing than body is. And if you want to simplify this for your students and not throw them too much information, you can just introduce the one and not the body. But they will probably hear both of those and should know that those are both the same. So we can say for people, someone or somebody, anyone or anybody, no one or nobody, and everyone or everybody. Notice that all of these are spelled as one word, except for no one. That's spelled as 2 words with a space in the middle. For things, we use the word thing, which is easy to remember. Something, anything, nothing, everything. And for places, we can use where, or also place, like somewhere or someplace, anywhere, nowhere, everywhere. So those are the words that we're going to be focusing on to start introducing indefinite pronouns to our students. And they have slightly different uses. So some is generally used in positive sentences. Any is more often used in negative or questions. No is always used with positive verbs, and every can be used in a variety. So let me give you some examples. We would say, someone is here. or no one is here. We don't want to, we don't use the no ones with negative verbs. So we don't say no one is not here. We say no one is here. Is anyone here? So anyone is often used with questions. Or if we have a negative verb, like I didn't see anybody. So we would use anybody with that. Or there isn't anyone here. So those are a few samples. And I like to use an illustration to show this to my students, how this works. So if we're using anyone or someone, it can mean the woman or the man, or this woman, or that woman, or this guy. Or we use the word or between them to show that it could be any one of those, or someone, as opposed to everyone, which is her and him and her and him and her and him. It's everyone, it's all the people in the group. So everyone is inclusive. It's all the people in the group. And anyone or someone just means one of a group of people. And just a little bit more. Again, I'm giving you guys more information than you need to give your students. It's always good for the teachers to be at least a step above their students. So when they have questions, you have a better understanding of it. But don't overwhelm your students by giving them too much information, because it can be confusing. But just so you know, the pronouns that start with every mean every individual, all of the people, all the places, or all of the things. Some, as we said, is just one unspecified person, place, or thing. Any is a random person, place, or thing. And when we use it in the negative sentences, any can be the same as nothing or nobody or nowhere, but we just use a negative verb with it. In questions, it means, does it exist? Is anyone here? Is there anything we need to do? And then no is none, not one single person, place, or thing. All right. And please let me know, you guys, if you have any questions during this. Now, an interesting thing about indefinite pronouns is that indefinite pronouns always take singular verbs, even though they may seem like they're plural words. For example, we say, everybody is here. We don't say everybody are here. Everybody is here. Or everything seems fine. So we use that third person singular S at the end of the word in the present tense. Everything seems fine. Was anything missing? Nobody has a question. So the singular form of the verb, not the plural form of the verb, is always used with these. So that's a good rule for your students to know. And another unusual thing about these indefinite pronouns is for the ones that end with body or one, like somebody or someone, they refer to a person. And if we are referring back to a person again, we're going to use the third person plural forms, they or their or theirs. For example, we would say, if anybody needs help, they can call me. Everyone has their own opinion. Every day someone forgets their book. You can also use, instead of they or their, you could use he or she. If anybody needs help, he or she can call me. But in common spoken English, we typically say, if anybody needs help, they can call me. Now, the indefinite pronouns that end in thing or place are not referring to people. They're referring to things. So instead of there, we use it or the possessive its to refer back to it. So nothing looks the way it used to. If you find someplace good, share its name with me. So the ones ending with thing or place or where, because they're not referring to people, it's going to use its and its instead of they and their. So this is a little bit unusual, but I just want you guys to be familiar with it in case you come up with, your students come up with those questions for you. Now, a synonym, another way to say nothing, nobody, or nowhere is to say not anything, not anybody, not anywhere. So we could either say there's nothing wrong with my arm, or there is not anything wrong with my arm. There's nobody here who speaks French. Actually, that's not true. I see Pat and John are there and they speak French. There is not anyone here who speaks French. So not anyone is the same as no one or nobody. Is that clear?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now here's something strange. We know that normally in English, when we use an adjective, we put it before the thing that it's describing. For example, I can say, I have a blue pencil. We put the word blue before pencil. And this is normally what we do in English. We don't say pencil blue. However, with indefinite pronouns, it's the opposite. The modifier goes after the pronoun. So we say things like, there's something strange going on here, instead of strange something. Or, I hope he meets someone nice. We want to travel someplace warm. I love to eat anything sweet. So in all these cases, the adjective strange, nice, warm, and sweet goes after the indefinite pronoun instead of before, as we normally do. And a final point to know about these indefinite pronouns is they're often used with the word else. So when they're followed by the word else, that means other than. For example, there's something else I want to say. So that means something other than what I already told you. Or Joe is busy, so let's invite someone else. That means invite someone other than Joe. Do you need anything else? So I might use that if I brought you some coffee, and then I'll say, do you need anything else other than the coffee I already brought you? Or everyone else left early, so I cleaned up. And here, else means other than I, other than me. So you'll see that a lot, that word with else, something else, somewhere else, anywhere else. And that's what it means. It means in addition to or other than what I already talked about. So, how can we help our students learn to recognize these indefinite pronouns and use them properly? There's some fun exercises we can do. One of them is using, we can use sentences and paragraphs that have the indefinite pronouns and see if students can find them. So I know that some of you have access to annotation tools in your Zoom. And so if you do, what I'm going to ask you to do is just click on your annotate, draw, and then I want you to draw or circle the indefinite pronouns that you see in this paragraph. For example, can anyone lend me a pen? I have nothing to write with today. I lost my backpack somewhere. I looked for it everywhere, but I can't find it anywhere. It's nowhere in the school. I hope someone finds it because I keep everything in there. It's something really important. I hope nobody stole it because I don't have my wallet or anything now. I pray it's somewhere around here. Okay, good. I see some of you are circling. That's Prakash. So Prakash found nothing, somewhere, everywhere. Great. And so if you are teaching on Zoom, this is a nice way you can engage with your students. You can ask them to go up to the toolbar on their Zoom screen and find the annotate button, and then they will be able to draw on the screen that you are sharing with them. Okay, beautiful. Excellent job there, Prakash. So you can see he found those indefinite pronouns somewhere, anywhere, someone, everything, etc. Beautiful, beautiful. So that's one way we can do it. And we can also have them look at the verbs that are going next to them. So like it is, or the contraction it's nowhere in the school. So that is a positive. We use a positive verb with the no pronouns. And then here, I cannot find it anywhere. So we use the negative verbs with anywhere when we want to use it in to mean nowhere. So that's another way. You can just have them look at some sentences, sort of pay attention to the verbs and the pronouns, and then they start to learn those patterns. Another thing you can do, let me go back to my mouse. Come on, mouse. Uh-oh. It's not letting me move my screen right now. There we go. Okay, another thing we can do is to practice with definitions. So indefinite pronouns are very good for helping our students learn to define words. And many times as we learn a new language, we don't have all the vocabulary words we need. I remember one time I was in Mexico and there was a problem. The place I was staying, there was a hose that had broken and there was water pouring out all over my room, and I was trying to get help, but I did not know how to explain it. I didn't know the word for hose. So what I said in Spanish is, the snake that carries the water is broken. And that was enough for the maintenance person to understand what I was talking about and help me. Even though I couldn't say the word hose, I came up with a new word to express it in the little bit of Spanish that I had. So many times our students are not going to have exactly the right words, but we're going to be teaching them different ways to describe things that will help them with the words that they do know. So this is a little exercise we can do to help them get better at using definitions to explain things. So I created this very quickly. I just put some questions about vocabulary words. And then up here in the top right-hand corner, you might be able to see there's a little word bank with some potential answers they can use. So for example, if I ask the question, what is a desert? They can answer, a desert is somewhere dry. So a desert is somewhere very dry. So we're using that indefinite pronoun somewhere because a desert is a place. We can say somewhere or someplace dry. And so even if your student might be in a situation where they want to talk about a desert, but they don't know the word desert, they could just say, I was somewhere dry. The second one, what is a dessert? Now, this is very tricky because the word desert and dessert are almost the same, but dessert has two S's and it's stressed on the second syllable. So we say dessert, dessert, whereas number one is desert, desert. Okay, so who can tell me, using an indefinite pronoun, what is a dessert? And you can use these words up here.
Dessert is something to eat.
Yes, very good. A dessert is something to eat. So we can use the pronoun something because a dessert is a thing. Very good. Very good. And we could also use, if we wanted to, use the word sweet. So we could say dessert is something to eat.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something sweet to eat. Very good. How about number 3? What is a student? What is a student? Go ahead.
A student is someone who is learning.
Okay, good. A student is someone who is learning. Yes, very good. How about number 4? What is a parent? What is a parent?
A parent is someone who has a young child.
Okay, good. A parent is someone who has a child, right? Yeah, excellent, Prakash. And the last one, what is a forest? What is a forest?
Forest is somewhere we can find trees.
Beautiful. Yes. A forest is somewhere we can find trees. Yes. So you can see, knowing those words somewhere or something or someone can help us a lot creating definitions so that we can explain and communicate new vocabulary as well. So I hope this has been helpful for you guys.
Yes.
And I am going to stop recording now, but I'll open it up for any questions.